If you're new to hula hooping, here's some basic information you should know. First off, if you're a beginning hula hooper, you should know that those hula hoops you see at Toys R Us, Target, Walmart, what have you, the little plastic ones that little kids use, we don't use those. Don't use those ones because, especially for beginners, they are too small, too light, and too thin, which means they're going to be rotating very quickly and can be very hard to work with. Even advanced hoopers don't usually use them, and if they do use small, lightweight, thin hula hoops, they probably use a different material. And if they do use the material that you find at Toys R Us, it's probably because they are doing what is called mini hooping or twin hooping. So, basic information about hooping. There are two different types of hula hoops. There are the mini ones, which look like this. And there are the standard ones that are not mini. There are two different types of standard ones. There are ones that do not pull apart, you can't break them or do anything with them, then they're a little bit flexible, but they, for the most part, they don't come apart. And then you have collapsible ones like this one. To my knowledge, there are three, this is a collapsible. To my knowledge, there are three different types of collapsible hoops. There are these hula hoops. There are ones from Hoopnautica, which is this one, that come apart. So they come in parts of 6, so it comes like 6 pieces of this, so it's travel size. So you could add and make your hoop bigger. You can see here. So beginner hoop, and you take one piece out and it becomes an advanced hoop. Oddly, there's no intermediate size with this kind of collapsible hoop. See? And then you have Unity's hoops. So let's get into the basics of hoops first. Beginner hoopers, your hoop is going to be the biggest hoop because a bigger hoop allows for slower rotation, so you can pick up tricks a lot slower and at a slower pace, especially since you're just picking it up. The bigger the hoop also means that you're probably not going to be doing a lot more off-body tricks. And here's how you measure for beginner hoopers. So, I feel kind of weird for doing this, but look at your belly button, and from the floor up to your belly button, measure 1 to 2 inches above your belly button. And that is how big your beginning hula hoop should be. That should roughly be around 39 to 42 inches. Most standard is 40 inches for a beginner hoop. So this is probably a beginner hoop. So it's pretty big. Then for intermediate, you have hoop sizes of about 36 to 38, or sometimes 37. And for advanced hula hoopers, you have sizes like this that are around 32 or smaller. Maybe it could be 32 to 35 or 34, and mini hoops, of course. But so those are the different types of sizes. As far as weight, it also depends on your PSI. The higher the PSI, the heavier the hoop. So beginners, they say that beginners should use 160 PSI. That's really heavy. Not even a lot of beginners use that. But if you find out that 100 PSI is way too heavy or it was way too light for you, then that's when the 160 PSI comes in. But for the most part, a lot of people are going to have 100 PSI. So beginners have 100 PSI, intermediate have 100 PSI, and most advanced people have 125 PSI. Now I just said that the higher the PSI, the heavier it is. So why would an advanced hula hooper have a PSI that's heavier? Well, you have to also look at how thick it is and how thin it is. So beginners and intermediate people are usually going to have thickness of about 3/4 of an inch. Now, like I said before, 160 PSI is very heavy, but it's usually for beginners only. And it's the same deal with the 1-inch tubing. So 1-inch tubing and 160 PSI is very heavy for hula hoopers, and it's usually recommended for the beginner hula hoopers, but not a lot of people use it. So a lot of people recommend just a regular 3/4, 100 PSI hoop. With intermediate, it's also 3/4 of an inch, or of a tubing inch. And for advanced, theirs is usually 1/2 an inch of tubing. So they make up for weight with how light it is. So advanced hula hoopers are going to be 125 psi with a thickness of 1/2 an inch, and intermediate and beginners are usually going to have a psi of 100 with an inch or thickness or diameter of 3/4 of an inch. And the difference between the beginner and intermediate is just size. So you can go from a 40 as a beginner to a 37 or a 36. So it's just about preference. The other thing you should know is about tape. Very, very important. My first hoop was a do-it-yourself naked hoop, or a naked hoop. This means that there's no tape on it at all. That was a huge problem, and if you do that too, just because of money situations, you're going to be very disappointed. There are a few different types of tape that you need. First off, you have to understand that the more tape you use, the heavier your hoop is going to be. And also, if you're beginning hula hooper, your hula hoop is going to look roughly like this. Very, very messed up, and this is only like 2 days on concrete. I don't know if you guys could see that. This is my second hoop, so I could afford to do that. But spending a lot of money for decorative hula hoop when you're just going to mess everything up later on, probably not the best option price-wise. When you start to get the hang of hula hooping and you don't, have it fly off when you do something like lassos, because when I first did it, it'd fly off. You can't even see that. So it'd be like this, lassos. When you get to the point where you can hula hoop and not a lot of times have the thing fly off and hit the wall or something, then you can get decorative hula hooping styles and designs. So here are the few different types of tapes. You have mirror tapes, which is like this, and you have sequins. You could also have fabric as a decorative tape. As far as tapes to kind of be useful for hula hooping, you have vinyl tape, but it's not really recommended all that well because even though it's kind of like grip tape, it is still kind of slippery, so it will kind of fall off. And then you have grip tape. Grip tape is going to stick to your skin and your clothes so that it could climb up to wherever you need it to climb up to or go down to when you're hula hooping. So it's really important to have grip tape, especially if it's your first hoop. Otherwise, you're probably not going to hula hoop again because it's way too hard. They also have glow-in-the-dark tape as well as UV reactive black light tape. So look for those. Hula hooping prices and where you can find them. There's not a lot of places that sell them. There's no stores. You can go to classes where they sell them, but you can't really customize it. You just buy whatever they have. Or you can go online and buy hula hoops there. I've seen hula hoops ranging, if they're not naked hoops, they are already decorated. I've seen them range in prices from $22 to $50. And the price increases if you have it shipped to you. So if you could find a class, have the teacher make it for you, and then just pick it up there, you're saving yourself $10 or even more or less. So pricing is just dependent on tubing as well as other stuff, but mainly it's really priced most of the time based on the tape you use. If you use glow-in-the-dark tape, it's going to be more expensive than using non-glow-in-the-dark tape. If you have 2 colors, it's going to be less expensive than having 4 colors. So if you're beginning hula hooping, don't get tricked or caught in the whole it looks pretty kind of feel. So that is as far as the hula hoop itself. I would really, really recommend that you go to your first hula hooping class at least once. That way you can get a feel for how heavy you want it, how big you want it. If you really want 1 inch or if you want 3/4 of an inch or what have you. I recommend going to a hula hooping class even if there are not a lot of hula hooping classes out there and you might have to drive 30 minutes away to get to one. But I still strongly recommend going to at least one. And if you're looking for other tutorials or ways to learn new tricks, it's going to be my next video about hula hooping.